Do you find yourself worrying that you don't know your stuff? Do you panic before you go to an initial design consultation to meet a client because you're worried that they're going to find out that you don't really know your stuff? Do you get a bit hot under the collar or sweaty in the palms thinking that they're going to ask you things that you don't know about, or that perhaps they'll mention a brand that you've never heard of and that they're going to think that you don't know your stuff? Well, look, if you do, it's incredibly common for you to feel like this. It's so common it's got its own name, Imposter Syndrome. And in this video, I'm going to give you some top tips to help you to deal with this. I'm Kate Tatherall, and here at the Interior Designers Hub, we help people to build wildly successful interior design businesses. Now, if you're one of those people who goes out into the world super confident with everything that you do, knowing that all of your design decisions are awesome, then you do not need to watch this video. This video is for the majority of designers who go out there into the world, sometimes worrying that perhaps what they're doing isn't good enough, worrying that their clients are going to think little of them, and worrying that they're going to be shown up as being an imposter. I can totally relate to that feeling, because when I started out as an interior designer, it's exactly how I felt. I used to get worried that I would be tongue-tied in front of my client. I would worry that I would specify the wrong thing, or that I would say something that would make myself look completely incompetent or completely foolish. Never actually happened, but that feeling inside me was very, very real, and it always made me feel really uncomfortable. The other outcome was that I used to spend hours perfecting things and planning for things to make sure that everything went as smoothly as it could. It was exhausting. Now, imposter syndrome is incredibly common, and so I'm going to give you some top tips today to help you to deal with it. Let's dive in. Top tip number 1 is to create a timeline of all of the creative things that you've done in your life. Now, to be an interior designer, it may well be that you've studied for a long time doing it. It may be that you've done lots of research. It may be that you've read lots of books and resources. It may be that you subscribe to interiors magazines and that you go to trade shows. It may also be that you have other creative outlets in your life as well. It could be that you're into crafting or flower arranging. It could be that you've always loved decorating your home and that you've spent many, many years perfecting how that looks. So what I want you to do in this first task is to really dive into that creative side of yourself and look at all of the ways in which you've been creative throughout your life. It can even go back into childhood as well, if you used to busy yourself with all sorts of creative endeavours when you were a child. What I want you to realise is that you are a creative person and that there are many, many examples that you've got of how you've been successfully creative in your life. Tip number 2 is to write down all of those other skills that you've gained throughout your life as well, that you might not think necessarily relate to interior design directly. So interior design is about a whole raft of skills, not just the design. It's also about the project management, the people management, the budget management too. So on your timeline, I want you to go back and mark in all of those times when you've developed crossover skills as well. Now, those may have come from a completely different career that you've had. For example, it could be skills that you've gained in project management or in financial management. If you've stayed at home and brought up children, believe you me, your negotiation skills and your people management skills are going to be top notch. Again, by writing down all of those things, it can really help you to see how much you bring to the party. It doesn't just have to be your interior design experience that's happened within the past couple of months or however long. All of those skills that you've got have been gathered from a whole lifetime of experience. Make sure that you're writing them down and that you're reminding yourself of all of the valuable skills that you bring to the job. Tip number 3 is to be honest and to get real about the things that you really don't know. So if you find that you're always stumbling over questions that are to do with sourcing or to do with colour, then make sure that you are filling those gaps. Is it that perhaps you need to brush up on your CAD skills and you need to learn perhaps SketchUp or another 3D program? Is it that you need to do more research on the products that are available out there in the marketplace in your niche? Look around for training opportunities so that you can upskill yourself. Take a look at our range of courses on our website as well to see if there's anything there that can help you to plug those gaps in your skills. It's okay for you not to know everything at once, but you should be working towards improving your skills and increasing your knowledge in key areas. Tip number 4 is to keep what I like to call a Kudos file. This can be a file on your computer or it can be something physical that you keep. I keep a Kudos file that has in it testimonials from people, but also screenshots of things that people have said on Facebook about how much they love our services, it can be emails that have been sent to us by clients, whatever it is, anything that anybody sent you that praises your work, that thanks you for the way that you've worked with them, the way that they've made you feel, the way that you've designed your home. Gather all of that information together in one place. It only takes a few moments to screenshot something and pop it in a folder, but every time you're feeling that nasty imposter syndrome rearing her ugly head, you can pop into that folder and have a read through the Kudos file. It really does help you to put it into perspective about how you're feeling and to realise that you really do bring a great contribution to the world. And finally, tip number 5 is to remember that it's okay not to know everything. If a client asks you something and you don't know, it's all right to say, actually, I don't know, I'll find out about it and I'll come back to you. It takes maturity to do that, but remember, nobody knows everything, and it's okay for you to go and research something and find out something new and come back to the client armed with the information. Okay, so let's recap those tips. Tip number 1 was to create a timeline of all of the creative things that you've done in your life that have led you to this moment. Tip number 2 is to also record all of the other achievements that you've had in your life that are not necessarily directly related to design, but might be, for example, project management, financial management, people management skills. Tip number 3 was to find out the gaps that you do have in your knowledge and to make a plan to plug those gaps so that you are improving your knowledge and skills. Tip number 4 was to keep a Kudos file so that you can look back and see all of the great things that you've done to help other people. And tip number 5 is to remember that you don't need to know everything, and it's okay for you to get back to the client at a later date. I do hope that you found these tips helpful in beginning to combat that nasty feeling of imposter syndrome. Remember, it is incredibly common, and even when you've bashed those gremlins on their head, sometimes they still come back up later on, and that's why tips like having your Kudos file to hand can be really helpful in your ongoing battle against imposter syndrome. If you've enjoyed this video, then please make sure that you have subscribed to our channel and that you hit the bell to get notifications every time a new video comes out. I'll see you in the next video.